All right. A big stop sharing just poked up on my screen when you said that.
You're
Okay.
still sharing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So there's the Hamfest. There's one of my QSL cards. And that's what you get when you pay your money. I paid $31 for that, and I got a table and two tickets. And then I bought $20 worth, and that didn't include any drawing prizes chances. You had to go buy them. You could get 25 drawing tickets for $20, which is what I got and Corey got. And we saw one guy that got he got uh 50 tickets,
Hmm.
$40. I don't know if he won anything or not. I didn't win anything. Did you win anything, Corey?
No.
Oh,
Did
okay.
you see the fella up front that had a hat full of those buttons?
Mhm.
I don't know what he was or not.
Yeah.
Uh, so there we are on Friday afternoon. We got there I guess it was around 12:30, something like that. And they were starting to move in. They hadn't actually put those tables there yet. They were going to stick me somewhere else, and I didn't want to be anywhere else. I wanted to be near the back door. One of those, I don't know, can you see my mouse there? Come on, mouse. It doesn't want to cooperate
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
See the tables back there?
Yeah.
That's where I wanted to be. The tennis would work better when the door was open, but they said somebody got those tables, and somebody came in and stayed on about 2 hours and then left. So I could have had them. Anyway, there was no tables where we are, so but they had tables on a rolling cart. So we said very nicely to the guy, or maybe it was his idea. I can't remember whose idea it was. We make a square back here. So we did. We put those in a square, and I jumped on those two right away, and then we got the two on the right there for a friend of ours, and then Frank came and we put another table on the left. You'll see that in a minute. There. Later on in the day, it looked like that. Corey's still on the phone. I don't know how long he was talking there. How long you talk, Corey?
I had to talk to some friends there.
Yeah. So this is Friday afternoon. If you look down the right-hand side where my mouse is trying to go, boy, his mouse just ran off the screen. Oh, there it is at the bottom. That big white trailer, and if you go toward the middle of the screen, that's all one company or per person or whatever. And she's setting up there. See where the yellow cable comes down? She's setting just to the right of that. And if you were here, I'm guessing maybe about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, when we had our April Saturday morning flea market, they came over with all of that stuff on a great big flatbed trailer,
Hmm.
and they did real well. So, and I recognized the stuff that she had, and I asked her, "Were you at Panama City?" Da 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 da. And she says, "Yes, I was." I said, "Well, come back again because we're having it April 12th." So she says, "I don't know. We're booked just about every Saturday somewhere." She said, "I'll put it on my calendar, and if I can, I certainly would like to go back to Panama City." So we may have that at our flea thing there. And when Roy came in, I don't think he came in until Saturday. I told him about that, and he went over and made some kind of arrangements. He knows more about it than I do now. And anyway, I've got a better picture of that. But she took up that's her trailer right there, and all of that stuff there. And what it is, it's mostly little parts, and they sell a lot of it by weight. And like if you wanted to buy what they call a lot of 632 by 6 inch round head screws out of brass, you could buy them for probably about 1/10 of what you would have to pay if you went to Ace or Lowe's. I mean, she's really got some terrific prices, especially if you're in the hardware business or you want to just stock up. You got everything you could think of. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on those tables there. And they give you a little a little package about the size of a pack of cigarettes, if you ever saw a pack of cigarettes. And whatever you can get in there, it's $5.
Hmm.
Even if it's flowing out the top, as long as it doesn't fall out, $5. And she gives everybody one of those. And you go through and you just start putting little things in there. And when it gets full, you pay her $5. And believe me,
Wow.
it's well worth the $5 if you're after some parts there. And here's Corey again. Wait a minute. I think I went the wrong way. Oh, that's Corey. That's Corey
Oh, yeah.
again.
He was on the
That's
phone when
Corey
I got
again.
there.
And that's Corey. I got too many pictures of Corey here. Oh, it says Corey again right there on the thing. Okay. All right. That's not Corey's truck back there, though. Okay. Over to the left there, back here by the green door. You're going to go there. Well, looks like I'm going the other way. He's got some real good stuff. Here's the really only computer guy that was there, and he had some real good deals. If you see that one in the middle of the three, that's a Hewlett Packard i5 with it's all brand new and everything, Windows 11 and all that stuff. For $100, that's a pretty good price. I offered him 50, and he could keep the monitor because I didn't need the monitor. I wouldn't mind having an i5. I have some i3s here. The one I'm on right now is a IBM i5, but he had Hewlett Packard. But he didn't sell it. He didn't sell it. Okay, this is the guy back by the green door. What he had that I found interesting, two things. I already bought one of them, so it's not there. But all the way down at the left there, you see that funny looking lantern with the door open on it, all the way on the left.
Mhm.
That's actually an old AM FM radio, probably from the 1930s, I guess. There's a picture of it up front called the Town Crier. I've never seen that before, but that's a tube radio. I'm not sure if it was battery powered or not. A lot of those early tube radios were battery powered. You didn't plug them in. Well, that's pretty neat. Pretty good shape for something coming up close to 100 years old. He did pretty good. He sells stuff and he had some real good prices there. Now we have to ask Greg about this. What is that? The two Bs? Are those two Bs? I couldn't.
Look, it looks like a 2A. Well,
2A. Okay, 2A
at
with a Q
least,
multiplier. Two of them. Two of them.
yeah.
Pretty good shape. I think it says all three for $100. So I think that would be a
Well,
good price, wouldn't it,
that's
Craig?
a great.
Craig? That's a
I
great
would have.
price, I think. All three of them
I
for
couldn't pass
$100.
that
Yeah.
up just for the Q multiplier. Yeah, I'd buy them all for the Q multiplier.
Yeah. And the one microphone there that's on the black mount and the one more laying down there. Those are called what are they called? J30s? Let's see, I got one here somewhere. I thought I had one. Oh, here it is. Let me see what it's called. It's called a static. Let me get a light on it. I think it's a JT. I don't know if my camera will show it. Oh, wait, it's too low. You can't see it. Those heads are worth over $100 each. This 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 microphone was made way back in the 50s, and it is still sought after by professional musicians and singers.
Huh.
And I sold one time. I bought one at a yard sale, new in the box, for I think $7.50. I put it on eBay and I sold it for $125 to a band, a rock and roll band in Norway.
Huh.
And when he got it, he emailed me and said, "Thank you so much for selling us this fine microphone. Do you have any more?" So he did not mind paying top dollar for it.
Hmm.
Its nickname is the harmonica mic. You might have heard that. It was very popular with the singers like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, and even Elvis Presley used one from time to time. But we had them for ham radio. I had that with my first ham radio. I had one of those. That's a wooden stick in the middle there because the way things were way back then, you could easily get electrocuted if your mouth touched the microphone. Sometimes, if you had enough RF in the shot. So they put a wooden handle there. So it's a metal base screwed into a wooden handle and then top of the handle into the microphone. That's pretty neat. And over there, he's got a bunch of tubes for sale. Small tubes with 1 volt filaments, most of them. Uh, so I guess he has some older radios. This is the ICOM 765. It was built to compete with the Kenwood 830, which came out first. And when it did come out, it was the top of the line at that time, the 830 top of the line. Kenwood and Yaesu had nothing to even come close to it. I mean, Yaesu and ICOM had nothing to come close to it. Kenwood was just walking away with the market. So I'll leave a lot of the story out. But ICOM made a deal with Kenwood. Actually, Kenwood made the deal with ICOM to produce this radio here as a joint venture and name it the IC 765, which had the nickname the Kencom, Kenwood and ICOM. Okay. And what it is, this is ICOM's first HF transceiver that contained the radio, the antenna tuner, and the 12-volt power supply all in one box.
Hmm.
Today, that's pretty common. Even on the little teeny radios, they have all of that. But back then, you would have had 3 separate boxes for that. I don't know if you can tell how big that is, but it's a big radio. Okay. So that was a joint venture between the 2 companies. And you would say, well, why would a company that had a leading market want to help ICOM? Well, there was a couple of reasons that became public, but there was probably many more reasons that we don't know. The main reason was because ICOM had hired away from Kenwood some of their engineers that designed radios. Kenwood was not very happy with that. Earlier model of ICOM's radio later on turned out to have some Kenwood circuits in it, which is a violation of patent and copyright laws. But instead of going to court and getting all this out in the public, the 2 companies got together, and this is the result of that getting together there, this one radio. There are a lot of Kenwood circuits in that radio there. But we didn't know all this until years and years later. It was kept a big secret. Okay. I don't know what those are. One on the left is a iambic paddle, a dual paddle. It's not A and it's not B because it's all mechanical. If you had if you fed, I don't know. How do you make it an A and a B? You got to feed it through electronic circuit, right? Right?
Well, it's in your keyer,
It's in
whether
your
it's A,
keyer. That's
A or
that's
B.
the key to the keyer, but that's
Yeah,
not a keyer by itself, right? Okay.
yeah.
The 2 little red dots up there are red jewels, and a lot of these that's made by Vibraplex. It has a serial number on it, which Vibraplex has made public. So if you have one of those with a serial number, you can pull up their database on the internet and get an idea of pretty much close when that was made. I didn't look at that one. It's been kept in very good shape. A lot of the old ones you'll find that the chrome is pitted, but that one looks pretty spiffy there. It could be a newer model. The one in the middle there, I think that's a Navy key Don't you think, Greg?
Yeah, it looks like it's explosion proof or
Is that the bathtub? Was that I know there's one that looks something like that called the bathtub. Is that it without the
I'm
cover?
not sure. I'm
I
not
think that's
sure.
the bathtub key without the cover. Put the cover on it, it
Could
looks
be.
like an upside down bathtub. I believe that is. And that one over there, I don't know. Don't know anything about it. Got a cover on it. It looks pretty, it looks like something you might could make yourself, really, out of a couple of steak knives or something. I don't really know what it is or who it might have been. Don't think he sold those. I don't think he sold them. This was their talk-in, which I really got to give them a 0 for that because they never had a station on the air. I actually had people calling me on my phone wanting to know how to get there, and I'm not from that area. I can't tell you what road to turn on or anything. I said, get a hold of talk-in. They said, there's nobody on talk-in, so I don't know what they're doing. He's back there where the radio is anyway. So, no, very poor display for the club that supposedly was putting this on. Here we are back with the lady that's coming to our thing there. Okay, you notice on the left we have the top to a tower where you can put if you don't have a pointed top, you can put that on there and you can set your rotor on that part that's punched out there. I think that might be for a 20 or a 25. There's another one there like that for the 45 tower, which is much bigger and much heavier. Right next to it is the famous Collins S-line HF amplifier. They made two different ones. One was called a L model and one was called a S model. I believe that's the S model. I'm not sure. There were two more of those for sale. This is if you were at my table, remember how Corey looked on the telephone? If Corey looked straight ahead, that's what he would have seen. Right, that table was right in front of us. Okay, going on down, this guy here has just a bunch of stuff there. He's got a couple of control panels for ham M rotors over there that I think he was getting selling them for a very good price. I don't think he sold either one of them. I don't know. I guess people didn't need control. The capacitors are one of the main things that burns up in those things.
Well,
So,
it looks like the rotators are in the cardboard box.
oh, actually they are, but if you could look at them real close, you'll see that there's also a bunch of parts in there that belong inside those two cases you see
Yeah.
there. And it'd be up to you to put them back together, he said. And it looked like somebody got him a big job on their hands. Everything was out. Those things were hollow. Yeah, he had the two of them there, and the two down in the cardboard box went together, but I don't remember what he was asking. What I did notice was the ST6. If I get my mouse down there. Where are you, mouse? Oh, there you are. I'm going to try to get him. Oh, man. I'm having so much trouble with these mouses these days. I don't know what the problem is. I'm almost right above where the mouse is. That's the ST6 terminal unit called a TU. It's also called a demodulator, a modulator demodulator, because it both modulates and demodulates, or it both receives and transmits radio teletype. This particular one is a newer model that does three different speeds. Ordinarily, they only did two speeds. This one came out back in the day. This is what you would have bought. This ST6, you probably would have bought an ST5 because this thing was very expensive. ST5 was only about 1/3 the price and did the same thing. Different case. You had to put this together yourself. This has got about 10 boards in it, and getting it aligned and everything was not something that the average ham could do. It took some pretty sophisticated equipment, which I later acquired, and I was able to accurately align these things. And I probably aligned 30 or 40 of them. People would just send them to me, or they would bring them to me at Hamfest. Or I would be on the way to the Hamfest. I'd say, oh, when you pass through town, could you got by and pick mine up? Well, next time I'm in Miami, I'll get it. They were very, very difficult and tedious to align because you have to align it. It is these are working audio frequencies like we're talking right now. These had to be aligned within one cycle if you wanted good performance. And most of the hams didn't have any equipment that would do that with. I did have the equipment to do that. And it was a lot of fun. Okay, so anyway, he's got one for sale there. I did not like the new model. They got more military and they changed the back panel to accept all kind of military control cables that hams would probably never be able to get their hands on easily, I would say. I don't know why in the world they did that. And then when they changed from the ST6, they went to the ST6000, where they put a tiny little oscilloscope, a little 1-inch oscilloscope in that same case there. And then they went to the ST8000, and that's when they got out of the ham market because the 8000 stood for how many dollars it cost. Okay. So, so you could say, you want to spend $8,000 on your little audio transceiver there, or do something else with your ham money. So they were out of the game when they did that. We just have some test equipment there. You'll notice the where my mouse has landed. Right on. I think that's a AL811A or S or H or something like that. And he's got a couple of other radios there. So some people only had, a little bit of stuff. Here's a table with some parts on it, all kinds of little parts and everything that you might find helpful. Here's another table. So he's just selling parts, cables, homemade stuff. If you'll notice this little thing right here, I'm trying to get on it. See the little silver thing right there? Anybody know what that is? Can you guess?
It's not big enough to see, but that's all right. I don't know.
That's a miniature table saw. Handmade. It turns 5,000 RPM and it's like perfectly balanced. It was made by a mechanical engineer and he did a just perfect job on it. And I just could not pass it up. So it's now going to be in my woodworking shop. And I hope I don't cut my finger off with it because it doesn't have any protection at all on it. But anyway, you never know what you're going to find at a Hamfest. Okay, now we're getting down here. You got some tripods and some more little parts. If you go down, we're in the back. We're in the back where the roll-up door is, looking forward here. And you see on the right, those cabinets are full of little parts. If you needed resistors or capacitors, they probably had them. I think most of this stuff, I know all the stuff across the front and down the left is one person. I'm not sure about this across the bottom and up the right. I think it's all one person. Came in a big cargo trailer out back. He has lots and lots of tubes. And I can see the tube caddies under the table there. Do you see the tube caddies? Let's see if I can mouse up to them there. Oops, mouse going wrong. Right here are some tube caddies. Looks like he's got about 5 of them there. Yeah, your TV service man will carry, tubes in when he goes out to fix your TV. Now, this was a very interesting guy. He didn't have a whole lot of stuff there. That little in over thing there, I'm not sure what that was. I think that might have been one of those automobile test computers that you plug in underneath your steering wheel and it reads out all kind of things. You know what I'm talking about? Anybody? Any mechanics here?
Mhm.
I think that's what was in there. Next to it is what got my interest. That's a satellite they call it a satellite converter. It works on 2 meters and 440s to talk to the single sideband satellites, not the FM satellites, but the single sideband satellites. But you must have a 10-meter receiver to work it through. So you are transmitting on 10 meters. This thing takes your signal that you transmit on 10 meters and changes it to the satellite frequency. And then it takes the satellite frequency and changes it back to 10 meters. What this did was a technician is allowed to operate, I believe, or back then anyway,
Yeah.
in the 10-meter FM part of the band, which is 29.0 to 29.5, they're able to operate there. So I don't know if they could operate on the other bands or not anyway. Anyway, he has it for sale. It was made by Tech, and there's what it looks like up close. It's called a Mode B satellite station. Now,
Oh,
if you
nice.
remember your test, I don't hardly remember this, but I know a lot of stuff was on the test that I took. It's only one mode, and there were like 4 modes. Okay. So you had to be satisfied with this one mode here, but I really thought about buying that thing. He only wanted $75 for it. I sent that picture to Chris
Yeah.
immediately after I took it, and I never heard back from him. So
Yeah.
I thought he would might go gaga for that and tell me to pick it up for him. But he doesn't. But I mean, it looks like it just came right out of the box. I mean, it's spiffy. I never seen one before in my life, but there it is. That would be real interesting. I have tried to work the sideband satellites, and I've been on there when they're there, and I can hear them and everything, but I have never made a single contact ever. And I've call a lot of stations.
Yeah.
So it takes a bit of finesse to get them to go. But if you look at the buttons there from right to left, you got upper sideband, lower sideband, CW, and what's the other one down there? CW and something, SSB. Wait a minute. I don't know. I don't know what else you could have besides upper sideband, lower sideband, and CW, whatever. It's not FM, that's for sure. Then you got mute and duplex. That's pretty neat if it was
Yeah. I've
duplex.
never seen anything like it. Yeah.
Transmit and receive at the same time. Well, it can't be duplex because it has to have your 10-meter radio. So I don't understand what duplex means. And then you got your 4 parts of the UHF band over there, and that big wheel there is your 2-meter dial. So it's probably pretty easy. I thought, well, if I really was upset about not being able to work the satellites, this might be my answer here, but I didn't. I
Oh,
didn't go back. I might have picked it up for $50. I don't know. He didn't sell it. He packed it up. Okay, here's that same table that's got all the stuff there. We're over on the tube side there now. Actually, we're behind the table. We're looking across the 2 tables. That's what we're doing. Okay. The back door is to your right, and we're almost up to the front door. I think I showed this table already. I think that picture was already. I must have that picture in there twice. Oh, I did, yeah. Didn't mean to do that. Okay, this is very interesting. When we first got there on Friday, nobody seemed to know what anybody was supposed to be doing. We went around asking everybody about where's tables, where's tickets, is anybody here in command? And she's sitting next to the command table, so I just assumed she was in charge. But that's her table, and she doesn't have any more idea than I do of what's going on. And she's making this artwork here, which I found to be very fascinating. Those pictures there are pictures that she made. She has tiny little specks of material that are all those different colors. And she has a tiny little, it's like a needle, like a sewing needle, but it looks more like a pencil, but like a sewing needle point. And she sticks one of those things in her basket where she's got a whole bunch of them. And she brings just one about smaller than a drop of water. And she puts it on that paper, which is sticky paper. And she makes all those pictures.
Hmm.
And by the time the Hamfest was over, she had some gorgeous pictures out there. And I looked at one of them. It was $275 she wanted for it. But what's unusual about this is when we go to a Hamfest, we usually see a lot of tables that have nothing at all. No way are they connected to ham radio. And it kind of gets under the skin of some hams, especially back in the day when Hamfests were really popular. And you go to a Hamfest, you drove a few hours to get there and you had to spend your night in a motel, and you get there and you can't get a table, but there's somebody out there selling hubcaps. That just didn't go over too well with a lot of people, but this was the only table there that didn't have something to do with the Hamfest. There were plenty of blank tables, so nobody went away that wanted a table. Everybody that wanted one got one. So that was nice. Okay, this is that guy that's got that whole U-shaped thing here. This is up there. These are some tube testers that he had. And that one there with the yellow thing, I want to tell you about it. Here it is right here. This was developed as a result of the technology that came through tubes after World War II. Electronics technology. Of course, electronics technology grew a whole lot during the war, but even after the war, it grew some more. And this was one of the best tube testers made. If you'll notice up there, it's got a lot of sockets on it. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 rows of 3. Got 21 sockets on it. You won't find another tube tester that has that many sockets. In addition to that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, about 15 or 16 switches up and down. And then you got 2 rotary switches. This has got more sockets and more switches than any other tube tester I've ever seen. Okay.
I had one.
And this is the Dynajet model 747. They built this after the war. This is, they didn't have this during the war. After the war, when TV was becoming popular and TV repair shops were picking up everywhere, and they thought this will be the ideal tube tester for TV shops because it will test everything. Oh, there's more sockets down front. I'm noticing 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. There's 8 more down front. So 8. There's about 30 something sockets on there. It's just unheard of on tube tester. Well, guess what? They
Jim,
wouldn't sell.
Hmm.
The people wouldn't buy them. You want to know
I
why
had
they?
one.
You want to know why they wouldn't buy them? They wouldn't buy them because of the color. By the time these came out, there was so much surplus electronics on the market that people were actually just getting sick of it. Everything surplus was either black or gray or silver, it seems like. And this reminded them of surplus stuff, and they wouldn't buy it. So they had one of the engineers at the Dynajet plant said, well, you know what? Why don't we take our 747 model? Don't change the model. Let's just paint it a different color. Where it's black, let's paint it a real light blue. And we'll change the number on it. And we'll see what happens. Well, what happens was they quickly ran out of stock and they couldn't catch up with production. There were so many orders for it. It was the same unit, just in a different color box. That's all they changed was the color. And that sold it. Hey, Frank, glad you're with us. We tried to conjure you up earlier, but
Yeah.
where you
Well,
were.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but
Oh,
I got something, a tube tester almost identical to that. It was a kit. You had
oh,
to
to
assemble it.
the Dynajet there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
There,
was, it
there were
was like
some that
almost
were
like,
there were some close to it, but there was none of them that could touch it. I'll tell you that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then you could select the filament positions, uh, the voltage and how much,
Oh
where
yeah.
the grid,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
And
You can burn up a tube in a heartbeat with this thing, man.
yeah, there was multiple filament selections and
Oh yeah, all the way up to
uh,
110 volts.
yeah, yeah,
You don't want to
there
plug a
was some
12
tubes.
AP7 in when you got your filament set for 110. Because what you'll get is a great big flash and maybe even some glass flying around.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen 110.
Yeah.
Usually like the five.
You have to know what you're doing.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You don't,
And
you'll
then
be
you
sorry sooner or later. Yeah.
and then you look it up on that piece of pen, that book.
You
It
look it
tells
up in
you
the
where to
book.
set it.
You look
You
it up
better
in the
not
book.
make a
Right.
mistake, on your selections.
Take you 30 minutes to set the dials on there because you got to set every one of them, not just one of them.
Yeah,
You got to set them all.
and you gotta get a reading, and then usually where I got confused is it would go into the middle, and you didn't know whether it was good or bad. It was
Yeah,
just in
right
the
there in the
middle.
white. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's I had one of those. In fact, I think that actually might be mine because I sold mine to him years ago, and I thought he turned around and sold it, but he could have got another one. I don't know. But I had one of those black ones there.
Did you ever hear a
Okay.
company called Precision that they made kits?
Who's that?
Precision.
Oh,
That was a
oh, Kit. Yeah, Kits were made by he's of course he's Kit and Ico Kit and Allied Kit. They all made they all made Kit tube testers,
I
and
had one that was
some of them were pretty
Precision.
good. Some of them were pretty good.
Yeah. The
I
one I
have
had was the one I had was Precision. That was the name
okay.
of it.
They had a lot of names that came out of the war. I have a a war surplus tube tester still in the original box. I don't think it was ever used, and it's only got two sockets on it, and it'll test about 50 different tubes. Yeah, I bought it just because it was so cute. I think I only paid like $8 for it or something. But there you go, tube testers. Anyway, here's another Collins S amplifier. I believe that's the S model, and that's the second one. I told you there were three at the Hamfest. That's the second one. Right behind it, that's say he's kit 2060. Now you sold a 2040, didn't you, Frank? What year's a 2040? The one you sold, your tuner?
Yeah. Well, I really don't remember, but it was the more basic one.
Yeah,
Uh,
you had a 2040. This is a 2060 behind the S line here on the corner.
yeah, I saw that. That
Yeah.
that had the beaters and everything built into it.
I think he wanted what 225 for that. He probably would have taken maybe 175 or something. He's a dealer. He'll deal with you. But he didn't sell it. He didn't sell it.
Those heat kits are made like really
Oh yeah.
military grade.
Oh, that's what you need if you want to do that. There's another picture of the front of the table there. He's got a lot of test equipment there. And there's your oil can. There's one of the oil cans on the
Yeah.
extreme left
Yeah.
there. There was another one right across from him. If you made a 180-degree turn while you're looking at that, there's another one right behind you there.
Hmm.
Did you see both of those when you were there? John, were you there?
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't see this one. I saw the one kitty corner from it.
Yeah. This one looked like maybe a newer model, or this one
Yeah.
might have even been a homemade model. The one behind us was a Heathkit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And up at the top there, you see two Heathkit SWR bridges. And then that's is that a Yaesu speaker? I think it is. Trying to look at the thing there. Loud speaker box. Most of those speaker boxes were pretty good. Not real good, but pretty good. Okay, and then this is way back. I'm all the way at the front, shooting all the way down the row there. And my table is right in the middle of the door. You can see somebody standing in front of it, so you can't see it. But there you go. Stuff on the floor. Everything's not on the table. A lot of stuff's on the floor. If you look over to the left, that's that lady I was telling you about that has all the stuff. And I hope she comes back to Panama City. She said she would try to get it on her calendar. Roy would know if Roy doesn't check in here, I don't think. We'll see him at the meeting Wednesday night if he got her confirmation or not. This guy. No, this is if you turned around from where we were a while ago, where the cantina was. This is what you would see. The front
Hmm.
wall here. This is the front wall. He had a lot of antennas already made there, and if I don't think I took. Yeah, I did. I took a picture on further down. That's a great big CB amplifier in the front there. I'm not really sure how much power it did, but it looks pretty powerful. Yeah, oh, there's your antenna. See it all the way
Yeah.
on the right where it says Heath,
Yep.
Heat. There you go. Yeah, I did get a picture of it. I couldn't remember. And he's got a lot of little homemade gadgets. He's got a soldering station there on the left and everything. That drill, he sold that drill right there. It's an electric drill with the battery for $7, he told me, because I went back to buy it. He said, no, I just sold it. I said, well, what did you get for it? He said, $7. Oh, God, can't believe
Oh,
it. I thought
oh.
he probably wanted
Well,
30 or
if
$40, you know.
if you're going down the line and you say, "I'll come back to it,"
I know it.
it
I
will
know it.
sell right behind you.
You need to be ready if that's what you want. You don't need to think too long about it. There wasn't really a crowd there. We actually had a good turnout, but I wouldn't say we were crowded at all anytime. This is another guy that had just boxes and boxes of tiny little parts and everything. Insulators over there on the left, high voltage insulators if you're going to do a lot of high power stuff with your antenna. You want to make some wires and whatnot. He's got all the standoff insulators and the
You know
square
that
boxes. Huh?
that Hamfest is not that big, but there's a lot of interesting stuff that shows up
Yeah,
there.
yeah. It's an interesting little ham fest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, there's three Heath kits. The one on the top left is all solid state. That's the 313. That's a receiver only. And I never had one of those. In fact, that's one that may have been the last receiver model they made because they were going out of business about the time that came out. So I don't know how many they actually produced. If you look all the way on like the right center, it's a big helicopters back there. I had one of those back in the 50s and early 60s. You've got two dials there. You've got a rotary dial on the left, which is your broad frequency. You just get near like 40 meters. You would get it near 7. And then that, what they call a slide rule dial, the big long dial that takes off about 2/3 of the face. That's where you do your fine tuning, where you would get right down to the frequency. And that's a receiver only. So you can imagine how big your station was back then. The interesting thing here is all the way down bottom left. That is a big CB sideband transceiver. I don't know how many watts it is. To be legal, it couldn't be more than what, 16 watts sideband, peak sideband or something like that.
12 watts.
12 watts, is that what it was? 12
Yeah,
watts?
and five on
I'm guessing that's what that is. But that thing really, I mean, it's like new in the box there. I don't know
well
what it
that
wanted for it. Did you
I
ask him about it?
well what was that a Cobra? What was the brand? What was the brand on it?
Well, no, it's a Pierce Simpson made in Miami. It's a
Oh, okay.
Pierce Simpson. They usually make marine radios, but they made 2 meter ham radios. They made a 2 meter ham radio that had a 6146 in it for your car. Okay.
Those could be peaked out to almost 20 watts,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
you take a chance on overloading the finals. But
Blowing everything up. Yeah. Right.
yeah, but I mean, you'll get it there. A lot of people wanted to blow smoke. They
Yeah.
call it they wanted to make a smoke blowing radio.
Yeah. And then he had a lot of antennas and stuff. A lot of antennas and stuff behind the back there. He had a nice table there. This right here is the Kenwood 870S. This actually is going to be, when it's all cut and dried, one of the best radios Kenwood ever made, is their 870S right there. I think that was their first transceiver, their first HF transceiver that had 6 meters on it. I'm looking. I think I see the 50 on there. I believe that's the very first one that had 6 meters on it. And then, of course, Yaesu and ICOM had to hop on that and get 6 meters on their radios, or else Kenwood is going to walk off. And then he has the power supply on the left over there and the speaker on the right that all matches and everything. I actually had one of these 870s in my Ford E150 van. where the middle seat is, where the middle nothing is between the driver and the passenger. I had one of those mounted. What a mobile fanatic I was. And helmet and everything is not necessary to have. Okay. Now this guy was interesting. He was telling us all about he
Yeah.
he competed in winter field day, and this is the outfit that he had.
Mhm. Pretty nice.
Very nice equipment. So I took pictures of each one of them. We'll look at each one of them here. This is the little antenna tuning unit. That's what ATU stands for. It doesn't stand for automatic though, because you see those two big knobs there? You have to do that. And I suppose this thing will handle 10, 15, 20 watts, but the little thing he's got there is only like 4 watts. Here's his HF transceiver. He later powered this up, but this was before he had turned it on. This is what he used for winter field day with that tuner there. And then this is another portable box that he made. That's a 50 caliber ammo box there with a battery and a battery monitor and all that stuff. And then there's the transceiver up there. I'm not sure what that is. I think maybe that's all 2 meters. I don't think that's HF. Not really sure. He didn't say much about that. And this is the back of his table. That's the buddy pole. He used that buddy pole, and he used this. What's that called, Corey?
Which one?
Right here. Oh, I'm pointing, but you can't see. Here, mouse coming down. Right there. Right there.
Oh, that's your 2 meter 440. I think.
Yeah. What do you call it?
N9 TAX or somebody. It's like a Slim Jim.
No. Well,
Slim
you call it a J pole. Is that what they call
J-pole,
it?
yeah, but it's
That's a
a
J pole.
ladder
He used
line.
this J pole, and he used this buddy pole over here.
Yeah.
And then he had some more batteries and stuff over here. He was showing us. And there's a pack that he packed it all up in. So he was he's
Portable.
a big one for, outdoor getting stuff done like that. I thought that was pretty neat. I don't know if was he selling that or I think he was just showing it. I don't think he was selling
I
anything.
don't think anything had a price.
Because he left with it. I mean, and here we have the lady again. I took her. See the little yellow things up there? That's what you get. You pick up one of those, and when you get it full and it's not running over and falling out, then you pay her $5, whatever you put in there. And that's all very, very, what would you say, high class parts, It's not made in Japan stuff. It's really good surplus stuff she has there. And I have several pictures along this table here. There's a good shot from the front. That's her over there. There's her head on the right there. There she is again, and this guy's buying some stuff, and he says, "Hey, you're not taking my picture, are you?" "No, not me." So here we go. He's buying a couple of antennas and whatnot there, and you can see she has some other stuff here, some handhelds and whatnot. She even makes badges. There's a little badge machine inside that blue case there. I didn't see her making any badges. Maybe nobody ordered any, but there's the thing on the front. You pick which one you want. And how much were they, Corey? Like $16 or $18 or something like that. Yeah. They weren't cheap, but they wasn't that expensive either. I guess they were about going price. I think there you go. I got a close up. I don't know if you can see the dollar amounts, but they're on there. The ones on this side are $9. The one on the left are $9, and the one on the right, for whatever reason, are $15. I think that's what it says. This is an external VFO. Your rig, your FT101Z had a VFO in it, but there might be times when you wanted to transmit and receive on different frequencies. So you would get an external VFO to add to the internal one that your radio already had. And you could receive one place and transmit another or something like that. That's what that is. I don't remember what he was asking for that. This is a very interesting radio. It's a VHF, UHF, all modes. So you get AM, FM, single sideband, CW, And of course, any kind of digital that you want to put in there, because digital is basically sideband. So I've had one of these before. The neat thing about this radio is if you didn't care about UHF, then you didn't have to buy the UHF part of the radio. It came in plug-in units. Inside that cover there are two big, all sealed in aluminum case, the VHF unit and the UHF unit. And a later model of this had the super, the SHF in it, three different modes that you could buy or not buy, depending on what you wanted to do. And that was I believe that was the first transceiver to come out like that, where you could, even though it was multi-band, you didn't have to buy multi-band. You could buy a single band, a dual band, or triple band. This one isn't. It says tri-bander. So that maybe had the other one in it. I just noticed that it says tri-bander. VHF, UHF tri-bander. I don't know what they might be calling
Or
the other
maybe it
band.
had 220
I was
megahertz.
going to say, I don't remember mine having, mine had the super high. What was the higher than 4? Several of the radios came out with that. It was up around 8 or 9,000 megahertz or something like that. It was way up there. Almost
Yeah.
almost up by the old cell frequencies. And I don't know what he was asking for that. I didn't get to check with him. Here we're looking along this would be the eastern side, looking from the front of the building toward the back. No, wrong. This is the west side of the building, looking from the back of the building toward the front. That's down all the way down her. That's her again, whatever her name is. This is an interesting transceiver, very popular. You notice it's only got 4 digits to display there, and then it has MHZ, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So let's say you set it on 4, and your dial said 8888. What frequency would that be? What frequency do you think that would be? Anybody?
144, 888. I don't know.
That's right, 144.888. That's what you would be there. Okay. So because you've got 100 channels on the 144, we don't have to say 144 40 times, okay, or whatever. We can just say it one time, and everything you get on the knob there is going to be 144. You go to 145, you go to 146, you go to 147. Well, back when this came out, the 2-meter band was actually divided into 2 sub-bands. You had what was called the 2-meter band, which was from 146 to 148. Technician and higher could operate there. Then you had what they call the sub-band, 144 to 146. Technicians were not allowed there. This was the place where people could go who thought that there was some kind of difference between a person who was a technician and a person who was a general, let's say. The person who is a general is a better ham than the person who is a technician. So if I don't want to talk to any of these technicians, I can just stay from 144 to 146, and they can't talk to me. Okay, they're not allowed on that frequency. They got their own frequency, but I can talk on their frequency. But they can't talk on my frequency. And believe it or not, this was how segregated the bands were back in the late 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s.
Wow.
All that time there. And so that's what this radio was made to, so you could easily do that right there. This is not the first one that did this. The Kenwood's first model was the 7400. What model is this? Has it got it written somewhere? 7620. The first model was the 7400. There weren't any 7400s there, but that radio had a lot of firsts in it. The first thing that it had in it first was that it was 25 watts. Most of these radios were 10, 15, 20 watts. The Kenwood 7400 was 25 watts. It was the first one to be able to select all of the channels between 144 and 148. Now, channels back then were designated as five kilohertz spacing. So if you take 4 megahertz and divide it by 5 kilohertz, you'll end up with 800 channels. Kenwood 7400 was the first radio to have all 800 channels on it. Okay. And to make it even more complicated, somebody came out with a modification where you could double that to 1600 channels and only offset by 2.5 kilohertz. So, and I bought two of those 7400s when they first came out. They were like $400 each. I bought one for the car and one for the house. Because back then I had more money than I had since. But in order to go from one frequency to another, you had to tune a lot of knobs. It wasn't just click, click, click. You had to tune a lot of knobs to get all those 800 channels there. Now this one, if you'll notice here where it says mode, that would be better described as offset. That's not really the mode switch. That's the offset. You see the minus there? The minus 600 that we have on 2 meters is already fixed in every channel if you have it on minus. You can turn it to the green there in the middle, which is no mode, which would be simplex. And if you go around one more time, it would be plus. Because down in the sub bands, some repeaters were high in, low out, and other repeaters were low in, high out. So for this radio to work right, it had to have both positive and negative mode or offset. Yeah, who was saying off? Greg, was that you?
Well, the the first 2 meter rigs were crystal control.
That's right.
Yep.
Yep.
So this is a big step up from those.
Oh yeah, this is all diode and everything else. The first diode radio that I know of was the ICOM IC22.
Yep.
The regular IC22 was a 22 channel crystal radio. Then they came out with the 22A, where they added, I think they made it either a 40 or a 60 channel. But let me tell you what, you'd have a lot of money when you crystalled up that 60 channel, because it takes a crystal for each channel, transmit and receive. So it would take 120 crystals, and that would be a lot of money. They came with maybe 4 or 5 common pairs. And if you wanted anything else, you had to buy them and stick them in there, and then you had to get them on frequency. So what you did, the club that I belonged to, the Dade Amateur Radio Club, was pretty much a 2 meter FM club. We had 800 members. We had a frequency measuring device that we put in a store window and left it on all the time. You could drive your car up there, and you could key your car, and you could see what your frequency actually was, and you could tune it. You could, retune your car, fine tune your frequencies. But if you got 60 crystals to do, you'd be there all night. Okay, somebody'd be waiting behind it. But that was nice that they had that set up, because a piece of test equipment like that was very, very expensive, in the thousands of dollars. But when you have 800 members, you can buy some pretty expensive equipment. So that's what that was. I wish they'd had a 7400 on there, because it's really a good looking radio. And somebody later came out with a mod for that, a little thing that mounted on top where you could select like 10 or 15 channels and make it scan. That was neat. None of these have a scanning feature like most of our radios have today, or some of them call it search. This was up at the ARRL booth. And by the way, Frank, W4RH, you might know him as W4RKH, was celebrating his 100th anniversary. He was written up in this issue, I think, either March or April issue of QST magazine. And he was there behind the ARRL booth, and they were giving away, of course, you could get this map here. And you could get this little ham sticker here if you wanted to, whatever. And this is that radio again I was telling you about, the Simba single sideband from Pierce Simpson, Gladding Corporation. Gladding made a 2-meter transceiver that actually had a 6146, one tube in it. There was a final amplifier tube, a 6146, all running on 12 volts. It was pretty popular in the Miami area because they made it right there. And that was their first delve into the 2-meter ham market. Before that, they made marine transceivers and whatnot. But then that was when the marine VHF band came out. So it was very easy for them to make a 2-meter radio, which is just down from the commercial VHF marine band, just down from that. So really, they just modified one of their commercial radios and called it a Gladding. You see it on the title there, Gladding. I think that's the end. Let me see. No, we got some more. We're back to the guy with the back to the guy with the computers and whatnot. And he didn't. I don't think he's. I don't think he sold anything. He had a couple of boys over there. They were in that box. There is a base or tabletop, whatever you want to call it, cabinet with power supply and everything. They were going to build their own computer, but they couldn't get together on a price, so he didn't sell it. And this is, oh, look at the back of my table. This guy came in behind us. He's got some nice stuff there. That's a G90 right there in the very middle that he had for sale. Corey, what did he want for that G90? Did you get it? Did you see
I
it?
don't think I don't remember had a price on it, but
Yeah, a lot of people they don't put the price on there. I was saying my
hard to
price
get
is
an
on every.
idea.
Me and Corey got price on everything. You don't have to ask us. We tell what it is. Now I don't know who came up with this thing. A FT 2000 FT 2000. This is Frank's radio that he was trying to sell, and I thought he was going to sell it a couple of times there. We had it set up on a couple of different antennas, and it seemed to be doing real good. Frank, you had a. Where's Frank? Did he leave? Frank, are you here?
He's in the next picture.
He's in the next picture. Okay, there he is. Oh, you can see the thing over there. I didn't know y'all can see that. Okay. Yeah, there he is. He's got his loop there, and that was for sale also. A lot of people were very interested in the loop there, and he demonstrated it to a lot of people. You can't see it, but down on the table, right near the tripod, he has a hand control that will run a little motor that turns about I think it's a half RPM a minute or something like that. It just barely turns. You think it's not working when you look at it. It turns so little for tuning the antenna on a wire, so you don't have to be at the antenna when you tune it, because if you tune it while you're there, as soon as you step away, it's detuned. So anyway, that was Frank, and here's you see the rotor sticking up in the middle there, and a couple of rotor plates. Those are some early model rotors, and I think one of those, I don't know if you remember from the TV days, if any of you are old enough, the rotor made the control box made a loud mechanical noise, and sometimes it would actually move because the knob would turn and it would go clunk, clunk, clunk when you were going from east to west or
Yeah,
whatever.
I had one of those. Yeah.
There you go. You know what I'm talking about there. The control box, actually, if you didn't have it mounted pretty good, it would actually vibrate and move around on the table or the desk or on top of your TV, wherever it was. Yeah, that was funny. Today's, of course, they don't do that. But to the right of that, that's a very good tuner there. That's a tuner with a tunable coil in it. That's a multi-turn handle there. In other words, you got to turn that handle like 100 times to go from one end of the coils to the other. So that thing will tune any frequency that it's designed for, all the HF, I would suppose. And it's got a built-in meter there where it can read forward and reverse power and SWR and maybe something else. I don't know. And there were several different models of that. I have no idea what he's asking. He's asking 105 for that rotor there. That's not bad for a working rotor if you don't have anything really heavy. Most hams would think that they needed more than that, but you don't. You're just turning the antenna, okay? I mean, it's like an automobile. Yeah, you can ride to the grocery store in your Tesla if you have to, but I can ride in my 2008 Nissan and get there at the same time you will. So this rotor will turn your antenna around for $105. This is a couple of the newer ham boxes. These boxes are, the tops and bottoms are plastic instead of all metal. So over the years, they don't turn rusty color like the old ones did. And the panel layout and the keys and everything are a much higher quality than the earlier ones that they made. And I don't think they had the actual units that went with them, but there's either one of those boxes will run several different models of the ham rotor. So you only needed one box and then however much you wanted to spend. If you had a real heavy antenna, then you got to buy a bigger rotor. So you can buy a smaller rotor and still have a very nice control box. Now I have one of those control boxes there that I put a computer board in. So it will really do a lot of the tuning for you. You can set it with your computer to go to a certain degree and it will just go there. You don't even have to touch things. And it will automatically slow down and it will sense that the rotor has come to a stop before it puts the brake on. That was one of the bad things about this rotor. Once you get a big heavy beam moving, it develops torque. In order to stop it, you've got to have anti-torque, or you've got to let it coast to a stop at time. Well, this one didn't give it no time. As soon as you took your finger off of the turn thing, it put the brakes on. It's like slamming on brakes when you're going 60 miles an hour instead of just pushing gently on the brake. And that wore out the rotors. That made the rotor wear out faster, but they didn't do anything about it. But with the computer board, it wouldn't put the brake on until 5 seconds after you told it to stop turning so it could coast to a stop before it put the brakes on. And that was a desirable feature there. They're made by High Gain, and I think another company took who took over High Gain. What's the new name of that company? Anybody know? I can't remember. Anyway, they still make this. They still make that thing. I don't know. This guy was neat. He had, I don't know where he got so many little Tupperware cups from. He's got a fortune in cups there. But he had little parts, all having to do with ham radio. You know, if you needed a antenna connector, or you need an adapter, or you need a little short cable, or you need a switch, or an LED, or a push button. He had them all right there. Very reasonably priced. That's where I got my the little hard drive I showed you. What did I do with it? I don't even know where it is now. Oh, it's plugged in. I left it plugged in. It's hanging up there. Yeah, I showed you earlier. He's the one that had those for sale, and he sold every one of them. I bought the last two he had there. I would have bought more if he'd have had them. Uh-oh, that might be the last picture. Yep, that's it. There's a quick review.
Well, for the most part, it seemed like a very nice museum. So,
There you go. That's good. That's a
yeah.
good interpretation. Yeah, it was okay. I'm trying to get off here now, and I can't get my mouse to. I don't know what it must be my computer doing this because I pulled out another mouse. Now let me go to. Did you unshare me?
No,
You didn't.
yeah,
How do
but
I unshare?
you are unshared.
Oh, you did it. Okay. I wasn't
No,
sure.
but well, I don't know what happened, but
Something happened. Okay, so I'm gonna go
well,
back.
we really appreciate you.
Oh, it says on mine screen sharing has stopped. It says okay.
Yeah, appreciate
Yeah.
you giving us the tour, Jim.
Yeah, yeah, that was fun. Hamfest was very enjoyable. I thought I hadn't been. I think the last one I went to was Montgomery. When was that? Back in November, Corey? November?
It's November, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Tell them about your sleeping accommodations.
Oh, Could have showed you the door that we slept right outside of. I slept on a cement slab. Corey slept on the bottom of his pickup truck bed. But I had two really nice homemade blankets that I folded up to I had about 6 levels of blanket, and I put that down on the cement for me to lay on. And I had a little, I forget what they call them, the little cone tent, looks like a igloo. And I opened the two windows, one on each end, and we had a pretty good cool breeze. I had during the night I had to get up and put on my long sleeve shirt. I didn't have a blanket or anything to put on top of me. But when I put my long sleeve shirt on, I was just fine. That's what the weather was. And we were worried about rain, so we backed up into a part of the building that only had a roof on it. It didn't have any sides. It was a very, I don't know why it was built like that. It's crazy setup. But anyway, back the truck in there, and then put my tent up against the wall. So I had between me and the rain, it would have had to go through the truck first to get to me, and then Corey had a truck bed tent that mounts on the truck on your bed of your truck, and it looked like it worked out pretty good. So we
Good with the
spent the night
blow-up
there.
mattress and all. It was
Yeah,
comfortable.
we got up about 6 or so in the morning, went down to the Waffle House and had a very good breakfast, and we got back to the Hamfest. What, around 7:30? We
Yeah,
rolled back
yeah.
in there. Yeah, yeah. And there was nobody else camping there. We were the only ones in a huge campground that can take, I don't know, what, 40 campers or something. There's a bunch of
Oh yeah.
campsites there. Well, no, Frank was there. Excuse me, Frank was there. Um, but they didn't have the electricity turned on. He tried to plug in, but the plug didn't work. But he was there in his Ford. He has a Ford camper that he built, and Roy was there, and of course a couple of more Panama City guys. Charlie Wooten was there.
He made all the sales.
Charlie had an estate from somebody. I don't remember who it was. He didn't tell me.
Sold it all.
And
Well,
he had like a Icom 7300. He had one real nice one of those LDG tuners that cost about $300 or $400. A couple of power supplies. He had a Icom 718 and another Icom. What was that other Icom?
747.
740?
The
Was
G.
that
What do you call it?
was that an Icom?
Yaesu. A Yaesu.
Oh, that
No.
was yeah, Yaesu 747. We plugged it in. It seemed to be working. I couldn't tell. 811 amplifier, not the A, but the 3 tube one. I forget the nomenclature, 811, whatever. And a whole bunch of other little stuff. He sold some CW keys. He gave me a CW key. Just gave it to me. Oh, and one guy. Oh, he's the one that gave me the Beofeng. He had a Beofeng there, and he was going to sell it. And he said something about, "Do you want it?" And I said, "Well, I got a lot of them already." He said, "No, I mean, do you want it? I'll just give it to you." Well, yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take it. So he gave us a Beofeng I had never seen before. But when we put in the code to see what model it was, it's just a plain UV5 in some kind of crazy case that I've never seen before because it gave me the same code number, 297. So it's the same. That was the last model of the 205, of the whatever it's called, UV5. The last model of 2V5 was called a 297. And that was a 297, but in a different case. I don't know where it came from. And I got a charger with it. And I bought a big 14 amp hour battery with charger. And I bought that saw. I told you about the saw. Oh, I bought a Kenwood the 30, whatever, the PS30, I guess they call it.
Yeah. The power supply.
The dual plug on it. It had the plug for it had the six-piece plug and a 4-piece plug on it. It had been modified because Kenwood kept the same power supply. I mean, was it Kenwood or Icom? I can't even remember now. Kept the same power supply, but they changed the connector. So this one had 2 connectors. Whatever. Gonna cover both situations. the guy practically gave it away. It would have been easily worth $125. I gave him $25 for it.
Hmm.
And he said, "Thank you. It's yours. Take it out of here." He was selling for an estate, and he sold everything except a screwdriver antenna. He had a brand new, like $800 or $900 screwdriver, still in the box there, not even unwrapped. Asking 500 for it, but he didn't sell it. He carried it out. Yeah, that was it was a good ham fest. I enjoyed it, and I guess I don't know. Next ham fest nearby could be Mobile. Not sure. I haven't heard when theirs might be. And after that would be Milton in I think July. So there's a couple of more we could go to in the next 3 or 4 months nearby. Well, Mobile would be one coming up
Yeah.
if they're going to have it this year. It's a small it's smaller than it has been smaller than Fort Walton's. It's maybe
Hmm.
half the size
Hmm.
of that, much bigger city, but
Ooh.
for whatever reason, the Hamfest is really small.
Rescue had one, didn't it? When it crashed
Who did?
into somebody.
Yeah, they did. And Pensacola was having them, and then a different club started last year, and they advertised they were in North Pensacola. The older club that had them at the fairgrounds was a club in South Pensacola. So this North Pensacola started having Hamfest. I haven't heard how it was, and I don't know if they'll have another one or not. We actually had three. Our club, W4RZ, put on three Hamfests here in Panama City back in, I guess, the 70s sometime. And we lost a lot of money at all three of them. It's expensive by the time you rent a building and do all the advertising and print up tickets and all that stuff and everything.
Mhm.
And you don't have a lot of people come. We lost money every year, so we stopped after 3 years.
All
We
right,
ain't
I'm gonna wind up the recording.
okay.
Thanks so much, Jim.
All right.